The sun began to dip behind the Hollywood Hills. The cameras flashed. The crowd of A-listers froze as the bride appeared in a flowing white gown. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. Matty Healy marries Gabbriette in lavish celebrity wedding. Welcome to StarScope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
It's just, it's the kind of image that instantly burns itself into the pop culture timeline. You know, a moment where high fashion, music royalty, and like some very dark Hollywood history all just collide right under the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've been seeing these photos flooding your feed and wondering how we got here, well, that is exactly our mission for you today. We are not just looking at, the curated Instagram posts. We've actually pulled a massive stack of sources for this deep dive.
Right, a really massive stack.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking digging through property records, historical archives, deep-cut fashion breakdowns from W Magazine, and entertainment reports from US Weekly and Geo News. We are going to unpack the incredible rise of the bride, the surprisingly violent history of the wedding venue, and, of course, the star-studded ceremony itself.
Which is just wild from start to finish.
It really is. But to really understand how this specific couple ended up at that specific altar, we kind of have to rewind. Because if we look at the bride, Gabbriette Bechtel, her trajectory to becoming a modern it girl is, well, it's just wild.
It really is an exercise in contradictions. I mean, when you look at her background, she was born in 1997 in Orange County, California. Her mom is Mexican. Her dad is Swiss-German. And she's been very open in interviews about, the friction of growing up in an area where the prevailing beauty standard was strictly white blonde girls.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and dealing with that racism really shaped her early on. But equally foundational was her home life, which was incredibly food-centric and just very grounded.
Wait, let me just pause you right there, because if you look at Gabbriette's public image today, grounded and wholesome is, definitely not the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, she looks like a high-fashion vampire.
Exactly. The contrast is entirely the point. She credits her deep love for food to her multicultural family. Like, they were a total bon appetit household. Her dad would be fermenting his own sauerkraut. Her mom would be putting unique twists on these classic recipes.
Wow, fermenting his own sauerkraut. That's intense.
Right. And they actually instituted these strict, technology-free family dinners every single night.
I can't reconcile that unplugged domestic picture with the lethal goth aesthetic she's so known for now.
Right.
I mean, how does a person go from making sauerkraut with her dad in Orange County to becoming a defining figure of intimate culture?
Well, it took a few hard pivots. So after high school, she moves to Los Angeles with this dream of pursuing ballet.
Ballet? I didn't know that.
Yeah. She actually lands a gig dancing in a blood orange music video for MTV. But in just a brutal turn of events, she ends up getting cut from the final project.
Oh, man. Honestly, for most people moving to LA, getting cut from your first big MTV gig is the moment you just pack up your car and go home.
Totally. But that rejection is actually what put her in the right room. She gets scouted by modeling agencies right off the back of that network, and soon she's fronting major campaigns for luxury brands. We're talking Jimmy Choo, Bottega Veneta, and Rihanna's Savage x Fenty.
That's a massive leap.
It is. But the fashion world alone didn't really give her the cultural gravity she has now. That came later, in 2018, thanks to a huge pop music connection.
Okay, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah. So English pop star Charli XCX actively recruited Gabbriette to be the lead vocalist for a punk rock band she was forming called Nasty Cherry.
Okay, I have to challenge this a bit. Charli XCX handpicks a model with a ballet background to front a punk band. Was this like an organic friendship, or was this a completely manufactured industry plant situation?
I mean, it was heavily orchestrated by Charli, absolutely, but they actually leaned into that. They even had a Netflix documentary in 2019 chronicling the creation of the band.
Oh, right. I remember seeing that on my Netflix home screen.
Yeah, and the friendship that came out of it was incredibly genuine. Charli XCX and Gabbriette remained fiercely close long after the band's initial hype died down. Charli even explicitly shouts her out in her massive 2024 hit song 360 with the lyric, "Call me Gabbriette, you're so inspired."
So she's established this edgy punk rock model persona, but then the COVID-19 pandemic hits, and she makes what I think is the most bizarre pivot of all. She starts posting cooking videos. And I want to be clear for the listener here, we aren't talking about the basic sourdough bread phase everyone went through.
Oh, definitely not.
She is curating high-end menus for fashion brands. She's like baking on cedar planks in her kitchen, and she's famously making meals for Matty Healy, like kale salads with pine nuts, potato gratin, and what she called a sexy little skirt steak.
Which is just brilliant branding, honestly. The media dubbed her the pioneer of succubus chic. For listeners who might not be chronically online, this was a direct rebellion against the clean girl aesthetic.
Right, the clean girl being, the slicked back bun, the minimal makeup, the green juice, just that whole hyper wellness vibe that really dominated the late 2010s.
Precisely. And Gabbriette countered that with skinny eyebrows,
No?
dark, smudged gothic makeup, and a very 90s grunge vibe. She looked like she slept in her eyeliner and survived on cigarettes, but then you'd swipe to the next slide on her Instagram and she's meticulously preparing a complex potato gratin.
It's such a wild juxtaposition.
It is. The friction between looking lethal but acting domestic is what made people literally unable to look away.
It's completely hypnotic. Which, of course, brings us to the groom, Matty Healy. Born in 1989, the wildly successful frontman of the British indie pop band The 1975, and the son of British actors Denise Welch and Tim Healy. Matty is, he is the definition of a lightning rod. He spent the last few years steeped in controversy.
He has, yeah. And, strictly looking at the public record, detailed in our sources, there was a long string of backlashes.
Right, and we're just reporting what the sources say here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was the heavy fallout from his appearance on the Adam Friedland podcast, which is often referred to as the Ice Spice controversy, where he basically laughed along with derogatory comments. There was a highly criticized tweet regarding George Floyd, an incident where he appeared to do a Nazi salute on stage.
Yeah, that was a huge news cycle.
It was, and then there was a widely publicized same-sex kiss on stage in Malaysia, which directly challenged local anti-LGBTQ laws and actually resulted in the band being banned from the country. We are simply imparting the facts of these events as they exist in the media, but they collectively paint a picture of a musician who thrives on provocation. He has even referred to himself as a pretend supervillain.
And his romantic history is just as heavily scrutinized. I mean, before Gabbriette, he had high-profile relationships with musicians like FKA Twigs and Halsey, and we cannot gloss over the brief, intensely viral romance with Taylor Swift in the spring of 2023.
The internet almost broke during that.
Totally. But by September 2023, just months later, Matty and Gabbriette make their public debut kissing in New York City. And by June 2024, they are engaged, with Matty proposing using this gorgeous custom black diamond ring. Let's just look at the strategy here for a second. Is this pairing the ultimate modern Hollywood crisis PR move?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Think about the mechanics of public perception here. You have a controversial rock star whose brand has become, frankly, slightly toxic, marrying It Girl, whose brand is this highly curated mix of dark aesthetics and warm domestic culinary skills.
It really softens him up.
Exactly. Being with someone who literally cooks family-style meals softens his edges. It grounds him in the public eye, while his massive rock star status gives her even more cultural reach. It's a win-win.
It is a masterclass in modern celebrity rebranding. But wait till you hear where they actually tied the knot, because this venue has a history involving a notorious mobster, a pop queen, and a literal shootout. If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you subscribe. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
Yeah, the venue choice tells you everything you need to know about how they view themselves. They chose Castillo del Lago. If you thought the bride and groom were eclectic, this property takes it to an entirely different stratosphere.
I am completely obsessed with this house. From our deep dive into the real estate records, Castillo del Lago was built in 1926 by architect John Delario for an oil explorer named Patrick Longdon. It sits on 3 acres in the Beechwood Canyon neighborhood, right in the Hollywood Hills.
Massive, right.
Oh, when we say it's massive, we mean 10,500 square feet. 9 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms.
But it's the design that really gets you. It features these grand Moorish arches, a double-height living room with elaborately painted wooden beams, terracotta tiled floors, a wood-paneled elevator, and a private tower that offers 360-degree views of the Hollywood sign and Lake Hollywood. It sounds stunning, but more importantly, it's isolated. Architectural historians often describe it as a fortress, and that fortress-like quality becomes incredibly relevant when you look at who has occupied it. In the late 1930s, historical records widely suggest that the infamous mobster Bugsy Siegel leased the property.
Okay, wait, stop. Bugsy Siegel, like the guy who basically built the Las Vegas Strip for the mob?
The very same. He allegedly used this sprawling, secluded estate, which is perched high above the city, where you can see anyone coming up the canyon to run an illegal speakeasy and a high-stakes gambling parlor.
That is insane.
Right. It was the perfect villain's lair. But after the 1950s, the property actually fell into total disrepair and just sat there, crumbling for decades.
Enter the Queen of Pop. In 1993, Madonna buys Castillo del Lago for $5 million, and she immediately decides to put her own heavily debated spin on this historic 1920s architecture. She drops around $500,000 on renovations.
And those renovations absolutely enraged the local community. Madonna's brother, Christopher Ciccone, who was acting as her interior designer, had the exterior of the house painted in these bright, aggressive red and yellow horizontal stripes.
Red and yellow stripes on a 1920s mansion.
Yeah. The inspiration was allegedly a church in Portofino, Italy, but to the residents of Beechwood Canyon, it was an absolute eyesore.
An eyesore doesn't even cover it. I actually found a quote from an architecture writer and next-door neighbor named Crosby Doe from a 2004 Times Online article. He said, and I quote, "She wrecked it. They took the historic tiles off the roof, threw them in a dumpster, and put on these Taco Bell tiles. It was one desecration after another."
Taco Bell tiles. Ouch. But, you have to understand why historical preservationists were so mortified. Original 1920s Hollywood architecture is incredibly rare.
Right. It's like buying a priceless antique 19th century painting and just slapping neon bumper stickers all over it. Why would she do that?
Because it's Madonna. She wanted to leave a visible mark on the Hollywood Hills. But the drama at Castillo del Lago got much darker than just an argument over roof tiles.
Yeah, it really did.
In 1996, the fortress-like security of the house was violently tested. A stalker managed to scale the property and attempted to break into the mansion through a window. Madonna's security guards actually opened fire and shot him.
Just pure cinematic chaos. I mean, it is no surprise that the 1963 horror film House of the Damned was filmed there. The energy of this place is steeped in blood, mobsters, and pop star feuds.
Seriously. And following the shooting, Madonna clearly wanted out. She sold the property in 1997 for around $5 million, barely making a profit. From there, it bounced around, going to commercial director Joe Pytka, who renovated it again, attempting to, strip away the Madonna era.
Probably getting rid of the red and yellow stripes.
Exactly. Then, in 2010, fashion designer Leon Max bought it for $7 million. And the modern real estate journey is wild. Max listed it in 2023 for $21 million, and it ultimately sold just this past February in 2025 for $18 million.
Wow. So a dramatic house with a violent history clearly needs a dramatic wedding. And later in this deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking timeline twist nobody saw coming involving Taylor Swift.
Oh, that part is wild.
It really is. But first, let's get into the main event. The fashion, the Vegas chaos, and a sunset kiss under the Hollywood sign.
Yes, let's talk about the fashion, because if you track Gabbriette's aesthetic leading up to the wedding, her choices were incredibly calculated. For her bachelorette party in Las Vegas, she didn't just buy some white dress off the rack.
Oh, of course not.
She wore a pristine white tweed Chanel skirt suit from their spring 2005 collection.
Let's explain why this matters, because to the average person, it's just a nice white suit. But to the fashion world, pulling archived Chanel from 2005 is a massive flex.
Yeah.
It signals that you don't just have money, you have fashion literacy. You have access to the vaults.
Exactly.
According to W Magazine, it was a long-sleeved jacket and a knee-length skirt with frayed tassels featuring these silver-toned buttons shaped like Chanel's signature camellia flowers. She paired it with an archived 2008 white leather Chanel surf tote and a rounded white fascinator with netting. It was just serving high-fashion, vintage courthouse drama.
Absolutely. It established a tone of extreme luxury. But in true Gabbriette fashion, that elegance was immediately followed by complete chaos.
Obviously. What did they do next?
Well, her Instagram documented her being playfully handcuffed and carried onto a flight by a police impersonator. And then she later changed into a crystal-trimmed miniskirt, a stark white tube top, and a sparkling tiara to go see an Elvis impersonator and Dita Von Teese's residency at the Venetian.
The whiplash of swinging from 2005 archive Chanel to a Vegas Elvis impersonator in the same 24 hours is the exact kind of internet-breaking behavior her fans love.
It really is.
It leads perfectly into their rehearsal dinner, which was held on July 17th, 2026, at the legendary Rainbow Bar and Grill in West Hollywood, which, of course, is a total staple of gritty rock and roll history. And then the next day, July 18th, 2026, we finally arrive at the wedding itself.
Right. So the ceremony took place in the gardens of the Castillo del Lago fortress. Matty wore a very classic, sharp black tuxedo. Gabbriette wore a flowing white wedding gown, but she kept her signature edge with a half-up, half-down hairstyle that was anchoring this long, dramatic veil.
The visuals our sources describe are just incredible. Exactly at 7 p.m., as the sun was setting over the Hollywood Hills, casting that perfect golden hour light over the estate, they exchanged their vows. Matty dipped her for a romantic sunset kiss right there, with the Hollywood sign looming in the background.
It sounds like a movie. And following the ceremony, the reception kicked into high gear. Matty actually got up on stage with his 1975 bandmates to perform for the guests. And we need to talk about this guest list because it reads like a highly curated networking event for the current pop culture elite.
Seriously. For those who aren't deeply entrenched in influencer culture, let me break this down. You had Charli XCX and her husband George Daniel, who, by the way, is the drummer for the 1975, closing that whole nasty cherry loop we talked about.
Right, full circle.
But then you had the absolute upper echelon of the Gen Z influencer world. People like Anastasia Karenikolo, better known as Stassi, from Kylie Jenner's inner circle, massive fashion it girls like Devin Lee Carlson, internet personalities like Quinlan Blackwell and Faye Kadra.
Yeah, it wasn't just a wedding. It was literally a physical merging of the British indie music industry and the LA influencer elite. But here's the part of the story that we really need to dissect. We have to talk about the timeline.
Oh man, the timeline. It is perhaps the most shocking subplot of this entire narrative, and it basically proves that at this level of celebrity, there are no coincidences.
None at all.
Exactly. This gorgeous, highly publicized wedding at the Castillo del Lago happened on July 18th, 2026. Exactly 15 days earlier, on July 3, 2026, Matty's famous ex, Taylor Swift, married NFL star Travis Kelce in a massive stadium-sized ceremony at Madison Square Garden in New York.
I mean, when you map that out, it is staggering. Two of the most culturally dominant, widely debated weddings of the decade happening within a 2-week window of each other.
It's unbelievable.
Think about the PR machines working behind the scenes here. Are they trying to step on each other's news cycles? Are they competing for magazine covers? The interconnectivity is wild. For instance, Gabriella Brooks, who is another one of Matty Healy's high-profile ex-girlfriends, actually attended the Swift-Kelce wedding with her fiancé Liam Hemsworth.
My head is spinning trying to keep track of this web.
It really highlights how these massive celebrity ecosystems operate. They are like parallel cinematic universes running simultaneously. You have the America's Sweetheart Stadium wedding on the East Coast, and 2 weeks later, the edgy, dark glamour indie royalty wedding in a Hollywood fortress on the West Coast.
Right.
They are constantly overlapping, contrasting, and referencing each other in the public consciousness.
It's the pop culture equivalent of a solar eclipse. The sheer chaos of those timelines overlapping is something cultural commentators are going to be unpacking for years. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next in the pop culture universe, because things are moving fast.
It definitely forces us to look at how these celebrities navigate their private milestones on such a heavily scrutinized stage, which honestly brings us back to the bride herself and a really fascinating contradiction.
Right, because despite the archive Chanel, the $18 million Hollywood fortress with a mob history and a guest list packed with the most famous people on the internet, Gabbriette has been very vocal about what she actually wants for her future.
Yeah, she has.
In a recent profile, she laid out her ultimate dream. She wants to have kids, host family dinners every single night, enforce a strict no-phones rule at the table, and just celebrate small, quiet happiness. It's a dream deeply rooted in that multicultural, food-centric upbringing we talked about at the very beginning of this deep dive.
Which leaves us with a massive tension to ponder. You have two of the most extremely online, culturally debated celebrities currently living in a sprawling mansion with a dark past. Can this deeply domestic, unplugged future actually happen for them?
It's a tough question.
It is. Or is this lavish, viral wedding just the launch pad for a new, highly public Hollywood dynasty? It's a war between the quiet, private life they claim to want and the blinding spotlight they continually step into.
It's the ultimate cliffhanger. And it brings us right back to that image at the altar. The sun dipping behind the Hollywood Hills, the cameras flashing relentlessly, and a new obsession being born in the glow of the sunset. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.